who's joining in. We've got Hilma Rose, we've got RM Alexander, some really regular names here. It's been a while. It has been a while. I'm great, thank you. But we've got giveaways today, which is really exciting because we're going to be giving away copies of my new book, which you'll be receiving once it's actually released. And also, too, we're going to be giving away free Quantum Freedom healing packages, courses of your choice. And all you need to do to be eligible for this is post today, is just, put something in the feed here on Facebook. So it's going to be interactive, it's going to be great, and it's going to be wonderful. And I want to start talking about the 10 steps to thriving after narcissistic abuse. And what is so good about those 10 steps is, regardless of how old you are, what you've been through, how much you've lost, how much your heart has been broken, these 10 steps work. And up to this point, we've had 20,000 people from over 90 different countries graduate from the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program to make unprecedented thriver recoveries after what they've been through. And over the years, these are exactly the 10 steps that I used on myself to not just survive narcissistic abuse, but to completely free the trauma from it and then to thrive. And these 10 steps have been perfected over the years to give people the most direct and exact path to free ourselves internally of the hooks of narcissistic abuse, so that we can move on into life even better than what we did before narcissistic abuse happened to us. So as I go through these 10 steps today, I want you to ask me any questions. I've got the feed open. Oh, my stomach's grumbling. I'm just going to have a little bit of coffee. I'm actually a keto person. I do paleo and keto, and I do intermittent fasting. And this morning I haven't actually eaten yet. We're getting close to afternoon, so I'm just going to have some of my fatty latte. I have lots of coconut oils and things like that, just so that I can keep going and pumping on with this session. So as I talk about those 10 steps, please ask any questions that you like. I will try and do my best to answer them, and we can really move on. But before we do, people who are here on this live call, just quickly say hello. Hi, I'd love to see who's here. We've had some people that are showing up already. And yeah, look, hi, it's so awesome to see you. I'm just going to check in with the team that we've got, everybody. And, join in, everybody. Join in, because it's going to be just wonderful to have you involved here. It's just such an exciting time. All right, so let's get started and let's just have a talk about the 10 steps of thriving and healing from narcissistic abuse. And I'm just going to make sure that I've got everything here going on. My feed wasn't actually feeding, so I'm going to have to scroll down to feed. Those of you who know me, the technical team laugh their heads off at me all the time. I laugh my head off at me. I am so technically stunted. I think that's the right way to put it. I'm not just challenged, I'm actually stunted. So if I do like anything really goofy or silly here, just have a laugh with me, because it's pretty amazing. One time I'm on here, I'm like, where's my sound? I don't have sound. It's like, oops, I don't need sound. I'm talking to you, I'm watching a feed. That's kind of the stuff that I do. All right, so let's get started. Hello, everybody who said hello and you've said where you're from. Have we got anybody here from Europe or the UK? Because I know some of you are so amazing. You set your alarms at 1 and 2 in the morning and do stuff like that. Like, that's not me. That's so not me. But If you can do that, power to you. That's definitely got to be thriving. All right, so number one, the first step that we look at in our 10 steps to healing from narcissistic abuse is to release the immediate pains and the feelings of loss. Now, for those of us who've been narcissistically abused, what happens is trauma is activated so much. And we literally have survival programs going off within us that make us feel like we are literally going to die. Often we have this incredible addiction to the narcissist where we feel like we can't live without them. We're terrified about what is going to happen, what we're going to lose. It might be property. We might be fearful for the custody of our children. And we're in shock that somebody that we thought should care for us and love us is capable of such cruel, conscienceless, pathological, and uncaring behavior. So we may feel like we can't eat, sleep, or function. And take, for example, Claire, who was one of our NARC members. You know, she started working the program when she did, like myself and so many others. She couldn't eat, she couldn't sleep, and she could barely even get in her car every morning to get to work. After only 2 sessions of module 1 of getting that high-level trauma out of her body, she was able to sleep, she was able to start eating, and she was able to start facing her everyday tasks. And then after a week or 2, it's quite common that you're ready to move on to module 2 if you really dedicate to doing this one thing with module 1. Less thinking, more shifting. Because if we think about the trauma, we can only think at the level of consciousness that matches that trauma, and we actually perpetuate it, we make it worse. But if we say, no, I'm not going to think about this, I'm going to go into my body, find it in my body, release out the trauma, bring in my highest self, which is my super conscious, which is source, which is what NARP and Corner Freedom does, well, then we get a shift into space and calm and power and connection to ourselves, and things stop being as horrific as they are, and we can show up to deal with them. So that's what module 1 is all about. And for people starting on these steps, you know, we can read and we can research and we can do all sorts of things, but we can say to ourselves, no, I need to get this trauma out of my body. That's the first step in getting well. Step number 2 is when we've had enough peace that we can start to feel like we can function again. All right, so we then go into, I'm trying to do the feed and see if there's any questions. There doesn't need to be any yet while I'm talking about this. This is me, you know, being a girl and multitasking as much as I can. Now, just before I start on number 2, I'm going to tell you that after I talk about step number 2, we're going to be drawing our first 2 people for free copies of my book. So make sure that you've put down a comment or a question, because the team can't put you in the drawer. The MTE team are in the engine room right now, and they can't put you in the drawer unless you actually do that. So the draw is going to happen after I talk about step number 2. So make sure you get on that. Okay, so step number 2 is release the illusion of this person as my source of self. So this is what happens for all of us unconsciously in narcissistic abuse. We assign that person to be a source of love, approval, security, or survival to us. So what it really means is that we still have unhealed traumas from our childhood, our epigenetic, generational wounds, or our past life wounds, that we don't think we can be those sources to ourselves. So we're really like a child seeking unconsciously a parent to fulfill our wholeness. Now we need to heal those fractures. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at a false source for us. And that's what hooks us into narcissists so profoundly. So when we start working on this stuff, we start identifying in our body where those fractures and those gaps are, and we take out the traumas responsible for those. And then we come back into a wholeness of, oh gosh, I know I can provide and be for me. Even if physically there's no evidence yet, I know I have the ability and the resources to be those things to myself. And with the neediness goes, the childlike clinging and the neediness goes, and it's incredibly, incredibly powerful when we do that. So let me just check what I have here. Okay. Hang on one sec. I just want to check because the team have just put through to me. Okay, so there is a question here that I just want to answer. And this question is from Lana Lily Rose, and she said, it's a pleasure to meet you too. Thank you for being on Facebook Live with me. Okay, how come the doctors don't recognize or they've never heard of narcissistic abuse? This is a really good question. They look at you as if something's wrong with you. In the society that we're in at the moment, most definitely, it's very important that we don't throw around and diagnose things and we say to people, you know, I'm with a narcissist. Explain behavior, but don't do the diagnosis, because as soon as you do that, people do distrust you. That's just what we're in now. And I really do believe that with a lot of our systems, whether it be economic, political, medical, psychological, we really have to take our power back and be our own researcher and seek our own information, because a lot of the old systems are very redundant and they're stuck in old paradigms. The old paradigms being, you know, if we're sick and reliant, well, then that's funding a big system, whether it be the pharma system or whatever else it is. It's time to take our power back and realize that we don't need doctors and psychologists to agree with us. We can be a source to ourselves who actually can work out and work through our own healing. So that's my take on all of this. So with number 2, oh, Esther, you're saying that these 10 steps are the best solution ever. Thank you for your endorsement. That's so lovely. Kimberly, I'm so glad that I could help you. And Maria and Josephine, you've already purchased one of my books, which is lovely. Oh my gosh, we've got Brazil here. This is just so awesome. It's so brilliant there's so many people to say hi to here. I can't go through all of you, but hi. It's just so lovely to see you. Okay, so with number 2, our big thing, step number 2, is that when we start shoring up those gaps where we haven't felt somatically in our body, like a source of love, approval, security, and survival to ourselves, what happens is we start being whole. And what happens is when we become whole and healthy, we're no longer attracted to junk food. So, you know, let's just say all of us might have gone through stages in our life where that Big Mac or whatever it was, that junk food was highly attractive to us. And that was because we're unhealthy on the inside. When we get healthy on the inside, somebody who is a pathological liar, somebody who does pull the rug out from under you, somebody who talks to you cruelly and threatens you or dismisses you or discards you, becomes really unattractive. And this is where we start taking our power back in these 10 steps very, very quickly. And we may think that this is just something that we can logically ascertain. If we could all just logically get over narcissists, we would do it like that. We would go, you're no good, done. But we don't do that. We go, you're no good and you're hurting me, but why can't I stop going back to you? Why can't I stop thinking about you? Why can't I get better from this? The reason we can't get better is because of those internal fractures that are matching the junk. When we clean that up, we're not interested anymore. Narcissists stop shining to us. They become very dull, very uninteresting, and we're not there. Okay, now another question. Christina has said, how can I feel that shift I speak of? When will I know it? When we do the work inside our body, Christina, I don't know if you're working with Quantum Freedom Healing, we actually somatically feel different. we feel a release, we feel an epiphany, we start thinking differently, and then we start showing up in life differently. When we do the work in our body, if we hit it, and if you're on NARP and you're not hitting it, come into the NARP forum so we can help you identify what the block is to release that, to get the hit, to get the shift, because I promise you there is no mistaking it. And then in life, you're different. Okay. So I think we are nearly ready to draw. How do we draw? Okay, so I'm just, hang on. Yep, no. Team, have we done our draw? Are we going to announce our first winners? Because I thought we were doing that after number 2. Yes, no. Do you want some more questions answered? We've never done this before, can't you tell? We've never done this before. This is live, working our stuff out. This is it. So I'm just waiting for the team. Oh my gosh, we've got the first name for a free copy of my book. Grace Doucet, you have been pulled out of the draw. Congratulations. And Shana Sanders. Congratulations, ladies. I'm so pleased you're going to be getting a copy of my book. That's so exciting. All right. I love competitions like this. Do you know, recently, I had it on Facebook, I won a meat raffle. I was so excited. I'm like at the RSL and I took a ticket and I won a meat raffle. Law of attraction. See, this is how it works. You know, when you're in the right place, bingo. So within, so without. The more you clean out trauma, the more it all goes beautiful. Oh, Shana, she said, thank you. That's so sweet. That's so gorgeous. Let's go on to step number 3. I love all the steps, and I love, love, love this step because this was big for me. They're all big for me. That's why I worked it out. They're big for all of us. Okay, so number 3 is forgive yourself in life for what you've been through. And this is where because of course we're like, well, that was rubbish. So many of us have thought we'd worked out all our stuff before we got into narcissistic abuse. A lot of us were not lazy. We're into personal development. We're into spiritual development. We're those type of people. And we thought, you know, I've got this sorted. I'm great. Then we think, oh my gosh, this is, you know, and it wasn't. And we got smashed harder than we'd ever been smashed in our life usually. So we think life is just a really sick joke. Maybe there's no God. Maybe we've been forsaken. What have we dragged our family and our children through, and what have we done to ourselves, and the money we've lost, and all of those things? It's huge. And unless this is victimization, we're really, really entrenched in it. And unless we move past that, so within, so without, we're just going to keep manifesting more of it. We're going to be diminished. Our cellular health goes down. Everything gets destroyed. So we have to shift ourselves. We have to shift into a place of life is happening for me and not to me. We have to forgive ourselves. Life, source, God. The narcissist. Forgiveness is never about letting somebody off the hook. Forgiveness is about being able to take our power back to say, via you and what's happened, my soul was on course in delivering me all of the knowledge of my unhealed traumas and belief systems in order to be able to meet them and transform myself into a new self and a new life far beyond the trajectory that I could have ever entered before this happened to me. That's the empowerment. That's what module 3 delivers. So what happens after module 3, for example, Len was a guy that I'd worked with through NARP and as a personal client, and Len was absolutely in that place of I failed. I've let everybody down in my life. My business got destroyed because of this. I lost all of my money. I can't believe, you know, men can be very hard on themselves. I can't believe all of this crashed and burnt because of my choices of continuing to stay with her and go back to her and try and fix her and try and all that stuff. So, and, you know, his life was going nowhere. He had shocking emotional and nervous system disorders as a result of this, and nothing in his life was working. After the module 3 stuff, he was able to reach a resolution within himself and forgive himself and take the gift that ever since he'd been a young person, he'd been brought up to hand his power away and try to keep everybody happy and try and be the amazing guy to be loved instead of having healthy boundaries. So everything shifted for him. In business, he ended up making more money than he'd ever made in his life. He was able to attract in women that respected him and honored him for him, not how much he gave them. And his whole life in his 50s transformed into the life he was truly born to live. Most of that was down to the module 3 work. So it's such an important step to get going early in these 10 steps to be able to be released. Then we have module 4, which we all know. And module 4 is so about that. How do we get past the obsession and what people have done to us and the shocking, horrible, awful things that people do? Because the thing is, when you're a normal human being who has compassion and a conscience and is honest, we cannot fathom the way toxic people think and the pathologies they come up with, and the tactics and the ability to emotionally, financially, mentally annihilate people for their own benefit. It's beyond us to think like that, let alone execute it. So we're in complete disbelief about how these people operate, what they do. And in that old human orientation, we're in obsession. Our brain is trying to put it somewhere and work with it and assimilate it. And I want to tell you right now that we actually can't. It's actually impossible, I believe. So if you can, you're an alien, because in the 10 plus years I've worked in this community, the biggest thing I've seen is that people are stuck in the obsessional loop over and over and over again, and they cannot integrate the information. This is what psychologists say all the time, that psychologists come to me and they say, and domestic violence workers, they say, like, this person has been stuck in this loop for months, years, weeks, and now all of a sudden it's assimilated and they're past it. How did that happen? This is the module 4 work, where we literally track those traumas of the obsessional loops. We spiral them up and out of our body, and we bring in sources of resolution, which heals what our logical cognitive mind simply doesn't have the power to heal. And then we're integrated, we're assimilated. And what's beautiful, I can't tell you this enough, what is beautiful is that we've actually moved past that pattern, that trajectory of what that person was delivering to us, to move into a state and vibration of being that is beyond the pattern of those old traumas. Because see, this is the thing. What happens is our traumas are in repeat. So let's say as a child, you know, I did an example in my book, and I actually forget that lady's name at this point. But what happened was this lady, she'd been, you know, I went back through my notes and my Skype healings and all sorts of things. But this lady, what had happened was her mum had always violated her boundaries and taken her stuff away from her and gone, well, that toy's going, this is going, that's going. So the narcissist in her life would all come into her life and they just took everything. They threatened her, they took. And this was the obsessional loop that she was in. You took this, you took that, you know, you stole from me, you did this, you did that. But what had happened was these people were bringing in the replay of the unhealed traumas from her childhood. That was the obsessional loop. So when we track it all back, we find this stuff in our childhood trauma, in our genetic trauma, in our generational past life traumas. We clear those traumas, and then we're free of those traumas. What that person had done is the message of those traumas we no longer have to think about because it's no longer in our body. The brain follows the body. It's gone. And then life doesn't have to keep delivering the same pattern of that trauma to get our attention to go inwards, to release ourselves and our life from it. Does that make sense? Okay, and I've just got a question here, which is from Eddie Doodoo, who has said, why is it so much harder to get over a covert narcissist? You know what? I think all narcissists are hard to get over. Some people say the overt, the covert. I just want to make this very, very clear. The hardest narcissist to get over in your life is the one that smashes your internal traumas the most, that you've taken the longest to get to heal those traumas. That's what keeps you in the game and the pain. Okay, overt narcissists, yes, they're tricky. They are tricky because, covert, because they're under the radar. However, the more we show up as our true selves and the more we up-level the old traumas that were causing us to hand power away, the fears of crap, criticism, rejection, abandonment, and punishment, once we show up as a true self, willing to lose it all to get it all. If I am my true self and I'm honest and I walk my inner being as a true, loving, direct source, I'm going to clear my path. The covert people have to go. The people that are not a genuine true self or ready to up level with me will get out of my experience. So this is how we have to be. And when we're like this, it's, for me as a thriver, it's not about me trying to pick who is or isn't a narcissist, covert, overt, or otherwise. It's just about me being fully committed to releasing my traumas enough that I can show up as an honest being, honoring my soul in my own body, and so within, so without, expressing that in life. Then all narcissists, even the most covert of narcissists, cannot exist in my experience. So I hope that helps. All right. So what I want you to do too, everybody, before the next draw, which is coming up soon-ish, ask more questions. Okay, I know you're listening and it's awesome that you are, but if a question comes to mind, post it, okay? And also too, if you have a comment and you haven't made one, please put it down because it's going to put you in the draw, because I wish all of you could win a book or a course, but you can't. But of course, you can always order them as well. All right. Okay, we do have, I'm going to just, before I move on to number 5, which is a very important step. Okay, Rebecca has said, how can we be sure to trust future relationships? Rebecca, it's exactly what I was talking about. Future relationships are so about us being true to ourselves, having the difficult conversations, able to lay boundaries, able to be willing to lose it all to get it all. And really, for me, it's about being very clear about what your values and your truth are and living aligned to them, because they mightn't be everybody's, but you've got to be true to you. Okay, Janika Lee has said, can you heal while still having to see your ex-narc at work? Yes, you can. People have done it. It's a big soul trip and a big soul lesson, that one. I really do firmly believe is that if the narcissist is for whatever reason in your space and continues to be, your soul is saying you're never getting any more than what you can deal with, and this is your opportunity to go inside, find the traumas that are being triggered, up level them to that person becomes as disinteresting as a slug on the pavement. And I promise you, it is totally, totally possible to up-level yourself to that space. And you will find that they've just got to vibrate out of your experience. There's been lots of people in this community that have been working with ex-narcs who have got to that point, that level, and then the narcissist will get taken to another division, or they'll change jobs, or that person themselves who's done the up-leveling will get a wonderful job position. I really believe what Florence Scovel Shinn used to say about manifestation. When you're willing to walk under a ladder, then no more ladders need to appear on your path. Our stuff is not about avoiding narcissists. Our stuff, unless of course you can do no contact and heal, that's definitely preferable. But in everyday life, it's not about avoiding narcissists. It's about showing up in a way that we're not scared of them anymore. And then we won't have any that we have to confront and be around. Okay, so let's have a look at number 5. Number 5 is about, and I love this step, this is big for me, it's about letting go of your fight to win and your need for justice. So this is about when we get all righteous and we want accountability and we go, bad people should be held accountable. And you know what? In an ideal world, wonderful. That would be great. However, when we're doing the deep soul trip of narcissistic abuse, so within, so without, if we need outer conditions to be any different in order to be whole in our own generative source of our life, we're in for a terrible time. So if we say, until they're held accountable, until my friends and family see who they are, until karma hits that person, my life cannot go on. I can't be healed and whole. Well, I tell you what, you're going to be the skeleton sitting on the park bench waiting for it because you don't get it. I've never seen anybody get it. So we have to become a generative source. We need to get all of the accountability and the resolution within ourselves. Now, I know it's not fair. I don't make quantum rules, okay? And at a human level, that's really unfair. But at a quantum level, it is so empowering. When you say, you know what? I can get all of my resolution, my accountability, and my power within me, regardless, dear narcissist, of what does or doesn't happen to you or who does or doesn't get it about you. I don't care anymore because my life is not dependent on you or anybody else. So this is where we take so much power back. Now, the irony gets back to the ladder conversation. Okay, things happen in the quantum law, in the quantum world, when you no longer need them to happen. Because when you become so within, so without, a source of resolution and closure within you, then amazing things happen. Often the narcissist is held accountable. Often karma goes back to sender, right? The bus keeps moving from your bus stop onto theirs. All sorts of amazing things happen. But I promise you this from the bottom of my bottom. I promise you that only happens when you no longer need it to. So you've got to get the resolution within yourself. Then stand back and go, well, that was really interesting. I didn't need that to happen, but high five that. Okay, I promise you, this is the thing. So number 5, the peace we get from that, it's not fun being a righteous person. It's not fun being a person going, well, bad people this and bad people that. And, anti-movements don't work. This is why when people are screaming out about this and that and the other about narcissists from the rooftops, they're actually energetically creating something for them to push back against. How we defeat narcissists is not need them. Become a power source that shuts down any power we've been feeding them. If you need them to be accountable and you need closure and you want them to be sorry and you want atonement and you want remorse and you want all of those things, you are giving them A+++ grade narcissistic supply. Even if you never speak to that person again, you are feeding them to exist. How you cut off a narcissist and all of their power supplies is when you become a force who doesn't care. That's when they can't exist. If we all did that, there would be no narcissists, I promise you. Okay, so I hope that that's explained number 5. Now, Janika has said, we've done Janika. Okay, Janelle Hawley, hello Melanie. Do you think narcissistic behaviors can be genetically inherited My daughter narcissistically abused me until she was 24 years old, even though I left her father when she was a 10-month-old baby. You know, I really actually do. I really do. I believe that it can be a fracture in the genetics. We know now epigenetic trauma is such a big, big thing. Yes, I totally do believe that it can be genetically inherited. There's nurture, there's nature. I know with my own wonderful son who didn't spend a lot of time with his dad, so many of his characteristics are so his father. Yeah, absolutely, I do believe that. All right, so number 5, I want to get into that, which is, number 6, release and heal the need to take responsibility for the narcissist. And this is where you get the oxygen mask back on yourself. There was a wonderful book I read about boundaries many, many years ago, and it was a metaphor about this family were like watering the next door neighbor's garden, but not watering their own. And the next door neighbor's garden was going beautifully, but theirs was dying. This is what happens when we take responsibility for people that do not take responsibility for themselves, is that we are siphoning out all our energy to enable them to not take responsibility. We're watering and tending their garden that they're not watering and tending, and our own life resources and energy start disintegrating because we're not focused there. There's a very good reason why in airplanes they say put the oxygen mask on first, because if you're gasping for air and you're suffocating, how are you going to help anybody properly anyway when you're not even helping yourself? This is a huge lesson in narcissistic abuse that we really, really need to learn how to become our own energy power source, because then we honor all of life in healthy ways. Sometimes the most loving thing that we can ever do for anybody is say no. Do it yourself. Or no, you cannot have it. How many of us gave to people so that they would love us? I'm going to put my hand up 1,000%. If I do this for you, if I do that for you, if I give you my money, if I give you this, if I give you that, you might stay with me and love me. That's not healthy, loving, or giving. That's codependency. And we can wrap it up in a nice bow and say, well, I'm the nicest person and look at all the things I gave you and I did for you. We've got to get honest with ourselves here. Number 6, step 6 is a huge hook that we can have in narcissistic abuse. It can be that. It can also be, I feel really sorry for you. You know, you feel like a child to me. I promise you, in past lives, a lot of the narcissists have been our children. And we did that whole unconditional love thing. We're adults and humans now, and they're separate people. And we've got to stop doing this, trying to save and fix people that are killing us. So I've met people 20 years down the track with narcissists who are remarried to new people who still drop everything to go to save their butt for them, who can't let go, who are still being manipulated and mined and bled dry. So we've got to stop this pattern. Number 6 does this for us. What I love about step 6 is for the healers, the givers, the caretakers, the codependents, the beautiful people that we are, is that we start applying this in every area of our life. We start having boundaries. We can speak up for what we need. The important people in our life, we can start co-generating mutually beneficial relationships where we can give and receive from them. Do you know how much beautiful oxytocin and bonding is created through giving? People can't love you properly unless they know how to serve you as well. And they don't know how to serve you unless you speak up for what you need. So many of us were taught never to do that. If you had a narcissistic parent, you had a parent with high needs that wasn't a whole source and you were mined, you never learned how to have needs, identify them, speak up for them. Module 6, step 6 is all about that. It's going to change the relationships in your life beyond description. So can you see now how these steps are sequentially building? This is a platform of our inner being and the fractures that we need to heal and we need to sort out to be able to break free from all of the traumas that narcissists hook us with, manipulate us with, and are showing us. This is why this system is so successful, because it effectively does that. All right, now before I get into number 7, we're going to do another draw. We're going to do another draw. So exciting. I'm glad I don't have to do this. I'm glad the team do it, because I'd be like, oh my God, who do I pick? I want to pick everybody. So, okay, just if you haven't put down a comment or asked a question, get it in now, get it in quickly so that you can go in the draw. And if you've already got one of my books, well, you can give it away. You can give it away to somebody as a present. I hope that, you know, you encourage lots of people to get my books, because the world needs this stuff. It really does. Okay, so now before I get on to number 7, all right, Kim Bennett Colvin. I have adult children that the narcissist continued to contact since his departure. He cut me off, but has contacted them more now than when we were together. They're inclined to cut him off, but they're not sure what to say or do. Any advice? I think it's really important with our children to let them live their life. And if we can hold and see them in our being as empowered and finding their way, and we can also really lead by example. So our example to them is about, not about he's this or he's that, or, you know, that's just a total victim orientation, which is not empowering at all. Our expression to them, our leading by example, is about how do they honor their inner being. You know, when somebody triggers them or is disrespectful or steps on a boundary, how can they speak up about what they require? And how can they, if somebody doesn't have the resources to meet them at a conscious level of healthy relationship, which is honoring their inner being, then what boundaries can they create? How could they work with, you know, what's right for them? And this is what we have to teach our children is about becoming their own source. And this is not about people pleasing. And this is not about, you know, trying to stay in with people so that we can get love, approval, security, or survival. They're a source to that themselves by honoring their inner being. That's what I'd be teaching my children. I say this to parents all the time. We cannot teach our kids what we don't have. So many people in this community have said, well, my child's broken and there's this and there's that and there's the other, and, you know, how can I change that and fix that? And I'm like, do the work on yourself, heal yourself, and then you just organically will show up in a way that you will, and you do. Okay, so, all right, number 7. I love this one. I love all the spiritual stuff. You know, I really do believe that in any of the work that we're doing on ourselves to heal and become better people, we really need to acknowledge a higher power. And whether you want to call that God or source or life force or well-being or the vibrational space is the interconnection of the consciousness of everything, you can call it Bob if you like. I really don't care. But what I believe is that if we're not willing to acknowledge a force and a power greater than ourselves, we're very limited in our disconnected, non-oneness self. You know, like if I'm separated from oneness, well, then I'm pretty much on my own. But if I'm connected to oneness in an organic, healthy way, then I have access to resources and consciousness and love and support and well-being and coincidence and synchronicity and opportunity and miracle that I could never have in this limited cognitive being. So number 7 is about connecting to the gift of your own spiritual empowerment. This is where we learn to step into true self function, which is the deservedness of being loved and flourished by life because you exist. This is actually our organic true self state without trauma in our being. The entire human experience, sadly, has disconnected us from that purposefully. Because if we believed that we were carnal, wrong, defective, needed to bow and scrape and crawl and plead and beg and atone and in order to be loved, well, then we're pretty much behind the 8 ball. However, if we know that we are consciousness and love and we're connected to all of it and we are in total deservedness and there is more than enough for everybody, we're going to start acting like a being who lives like that. And is it any wonder that we've been handing our power over to try to get approval and try to be loved, and then we get into relationships and do the same thing with people that abuse us? Is it any wonder that's happened? I don't think so. Number 7 is where we get to heal these deep fractures of humanity. And when we heal them personally for ourselves, how do you think a person who feels loved and approved of and flourished and nourished and grateful that they are that person, how do you think that person will behave? They will behave as a whole person. See, people think this is narcissism. People think that if you believe that you're loved and flourished by God and source and creation and all of existence, that you're up yourself and you're a narcissist and you're full of yourself. Narcissism is actually the exact opposite. Narcissism is, well, I'm not supported by a force greater than myself. I'm out on my own, and therefore I have to take, pillage, lie, and steal in order to get it. Can you see the difference and what the fracture of humanity has created for all of us? So I love number 7. For myself personally, I had a part in my recovery that got to a certain point and then didn't really click into true thriving. And I found this for a lot of people, that number 7 is where a massive, massive shift happens, because even when people are doing the healings, they may not be able to accept the light, like fully let their superconscious into them, because it's like, oh my God, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I don't deserve this. Who do I think I am? Other people deserve this or not me. Like all of our smallness and defectiveness, when we clear those traumas, you can fully let the light in, which is actually who you are meant to be. You are meant to be source expressing itself through you as you. Anything less than that is blasphemy. Anything less than that is egotism and hubris, as far as I'm concerned. So number 7 gets you there. I don't know what else to say about that, but you know, you really have to experience step 7 yourself. You're ready for it. You've got to have all the other steps in place before you get to step 7. When you get to step 7, once you've processed that properly, you may have been in my forums or on the blog and you see people posting stuff like, you know, I've never felt so whole, I've never felt so connected, I've never felt so happy in my entire life. Often they're the words of people that have just processed step 7. That's how powerful it is. I hope that makes sense. So we're going to do another draw now. So team, I'm sure you're on your game. Okay, let's do the draw. Clary and Zach. I think Harry's there too. Okay, ta-da, drum roll. I haven't got a drum, or I could do a drum roll. Giveaway winners are Monica Diaz. Might be a relation to Cameron. I don't know. Cameron Diaz. Monica Diaz and Jocelyn Hughes. Congratulations. You have received copies of my book, which you will receive on release date, which is in November. So thank you, ladies, for posting and being here. Why haven't we got any guy winners? Have we got guys posting? I know they're in a draw. I know that the MTU team are doing this properly. We just, we don't have as many guys the post. I love in the NARP forum, we've got a lot of really active guys in there. So beautiful seeing guys connecting to their healing and the revolution and their up leveling. It's fabulous because I'm so for unity consciousness. I'm so for, men and women have been at war against each other. I want to heal all of this. I want to help heal all of this so that we can heal all of the masculine and feminine within and come together in beautiful ways. That's, that's the goal. That's what we're here to do. All right, step 8. Wow, is this a module in NARP that gets flogged? Okay, I don't know if flogged is a US term or even a UK term. It's an Aussie term. Flogged means we do a lot of it. So number 8 is release and heal the fear of the narcissist and whatever he or she may do next. And what happens here is we're going inwards to find the fears that are triggered. Now, we know narcissists are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to unwrap. Okay, so this person could stalk you. They could discard you. They could abuse you by proxy. You could arrive somewhere and all of a sudden you've got a notice on something from an authority. Or, the one thing we know is anything is possible because these people don't have boundaries. They don't have limits. They don't have a conscience. It's open slather. They can do anything. And we feel like a sitting duck. We're there and we're like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. And, the trauma is horrific, especially if you've got court cases with custody or property or business battles or whatever. This is where we have to work out the truth of so within, so without. So when you start living it, you cannot deny it. Because when you're triggered, and this is what we do as humans, when we're triggered, then our cortisol kicks in, our adrenaline, we go into survival program, beta brainwave comes, and it's cool if a lion's coming at you and you need to get up a tree. It's very, very helpful. Apart from that, it's rubbish. Because what happens is you're only thinking in the survival program of the trauma, which accentuates the trauma, and the expansive part of your brain, your superconscious that is connected to the entire field, gets shut off and you have no access. You are out on your own, as Esther Hicks would say, out on the rugged, raw edge on your own. It's no place to be, and you are going to get chopped to pieces out there. So, see, this is the thing. What happens as humans is when we get triggered and we're in trauma, we normally choose things that give us more trauma. Alcohol, cigarettes, bad food, whinging and whining, victimization, getting on abuse forums and belting on about the terrible treatment and the things that are happening to us. I understand it. I've been there. I can still do it if I'm not on myself and being quantum. But I'll tell you this, it doesn't work. It does not work. What we need to do is the more triggered we are, the more we need to go to modulate. We need to pick up that particular quantum freedom healing and meet inside us this triggered trauma, load it up cellularly, get it up and out of ourselves, bring in our superconscious state to replace it. Then we get out of cortisol, we get out of adrenaline. Our brain wiring synopsis that was in crisis consciousness lets go and we reform into solution consciousness, which is expansiveness and connection to the field. Then we get the inspirations. Then we get the solutions. Then we get the right people turn up. We have the right information drops in our lap. What also happens is we distinctly stop being a match for the trauma consciousness that we're peptide addicted to. We break the circuit. So within, so without. When you're on a consciousness level of solution consciousness, crisis consciousness cannot come into your experience. So and it's happened. We talked about Preemie on one of my Thriver shows, how she had a very, very nasty ex that was going for full custody and property and all sorts of things. Relentless, like a Terminator. She worked modulate over and over. In her final court case, his plane got held up. His phone, he couldn't make contact. She was awarded full custody. His lawyer didn't turn up. All these things just completely fell apart for him. Was it coincidence? No. No, it wasn't. This is what happens. So Module 8 people have had unprecedented. They've had custody rulings. They've had all sorts of things happen that are just unheard of. So within, so without. So this is the quantum field. When you get a piece inside, and this is what all thrivers report before these big breakthroughs. It's happened in my life more times than I could tell you. When there's a piece inside, if everything is in perfect and divine order, however it unfolds, I just feel at peace and calm. I'm not even sure how it's going to unfold, but whatever it is, I know it's perfect for me. That's when it all falls into your lap. It is never when you need it. It's when you are already being it. Module 8 gets you to that in the most horrendous of circumstances. That's why I mean it's flogged. I have a very dear and beautiful friend of mine who sits in court with the headphones on in the waiting rooms before her, she has a vexatious ex-narcissist who keeps, trying. And she will sit there with the headphones on with Module 8 going, processing it all within herself before she walks into the courtrooms. And when she does that, he has no traction. So this is how important this work is. I hope that this is making sense to you. So then, okay, I'm just going to answer some more questions. Okay, so we've got Dawn. One more question that I've got here. Dawn Neville. Why do you think some traumatized people become kind and compassionate and others mean and no empathy? What's the solution to this? Well, let's just go into why they do this. Okay, because as a child, what happens is there's two ways that you can go, people that have had a hard time. And we've got to think about this. Consciousness is only something that's becoming recognized now. We've all come from survival programs of cognitive intelligence and not emotional intelligence. So it was all about, our parents, if they were functioning, it was about getting food on the table, paying the bills and going to work and, get up and go to work, school and get on with it and all this sort of thing. So, many people had emotional neglect where we didn't felt seen or heard. We didn't know how to self-soothe. We didn't know how to value ourselves. We didn't, we might have thought we were bad rather than being told we were just doing bad behavior. So there's many levels of abuse. I think for many of us as codependents, whether we had narcissistic parents or not, we didn't necessarily felt loved and seen and heard and whole. We didn't know how to self-soothe. Our parents were very busy and anxious in survival. So, we became very out of seeking and very anxious and over-functioning and seeking approval through performance and all sorts of things. So it doesn't have to be horrible, awful abuse. But really, every child wants to feel whole and wants to feel safe and wants to feel loved. And if that's not possible, there's two ways that can be created. The first is that, I'm going to people please. I'm going to try and give you everything you want so that you see me and approve of me and love me and give me security and survival. Or an inner choice, unconscious inner choice may be, as myself, I can't be safe and I'm not safe. So I need to bury that true self and create a fictitious character in its place to be able to get my needs met. Now that's narcissism. So how do we stop this? The damage is done, for narcissists, sadly, at the point of consciousness as it is now. For codependence, we can go inside and we can heal those fractures and become a whole source to ourselves to then stop passing that stuff on. We have to get better to do better. We have to do better with our kids in order to allow them to be seen and heard and met, and give them healthy boundaries and limits so that they do suffer disappointment. We have to model for them self-soothing and consciousness and introspection and personal radical responsibility, and to stop blaming and shaming themselves and others and playing the victim, to become a generative source of their own experience. This is the shift our world is in. That's how we change this stuff, one person at a time, because one person changing this changes all the future generations, the template. So let's have a look at step number 9. And step number 9 is about, I love this. I love all of it. Can't you tell? Gosh, it not just saved my life, it changed it beyond recognition, and that's why I'm so passionate about this stuff for everybody. So number 9 is release and heal the connection to the narcissist. And at this 9th step, you get to clear all of those last remaining hooks and connections and pulls with the narcissist so that they become a memory of a memory. Now, we know with narcissistic abuse, the psychic enmeshment and the psychic vandalization is off the planet. You feel like this person is a black ink literally detonating inside you, and that they live on inside of you. People report this even after decades of not even seeing them. We have to get this stuff out. People that are spiritual might know about tie cutting. Tie cutting is a tool, but it is not effective unless you've cleaned up your actual fractures and traumas and wounds inside that are allowing somebody to infiltrate your inner being in a psychic way. Also, too, what we find out in our Module 9 work is that there are parts of us not letting go for very unconscious reasons. And these could be the unconscious reasons. I remember, and I've done work with people that can't let go of a narcissistic parent because there's a guilt inside that, it's not okay for me to evolve and to leave you the way you are. And people freak out when they find this stuff. They're like, oh my God, I never knew that was there, this symbiosis. But it makes so much sense when they find it and they release it and up-level it and live free of it. They can let go. I can't even tell you the amount of contracts and unconscious agreements and vows and all sorts of things that we can have hooked up in our system that we find in Module 9 work. And when we let them go, the relief of being able to fully disconnect from this person that was haunting you in your dreams, your everyday expressions, the triggers that go off that we think are complicated post-traumatic stress disorder. Every time I see the car or I see a restaurant that reminds me of happy times, or the flowers that they brought me that time, all of those things go. You become a person living your own life. And most people, I'll tell you, unless you do the inner work at a quantum level, you don't get there. There are people in abuse forums worldwide 40 years down the track are still suffering that. And what they're doing is they're taking antipsychotics to try and stop it. That's not healing. That's not true healing. That's not what we're capable of. So I hope that makes sense to you. All right, I'm going to move on to Module 10, to Step 10. And I just want to announce that after Step 10, we are going to be drawing the 2 winners for free quantum freedom healing courses of your choice. Now, those of you, if you win, if you haven't done NARP, you've got to start with NARP. NARP is step number 1, the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program. If you've got NARP or you've done NARP, well then, you might want to choose Transforming Family of Origin Wounds, which is a great course to clean up the stuff with mum and dad and all our female and male relationships inside and outside. Or you might want to go into Empowered Self, which is a Power Pack course, which is about expanding into those trajectories of life beyond narcissistic abuse that you want as a fulfilling life. So make sure that you post or ask a question or do a comment. Get on there, get on the feed so that you're in the draw, please, beautiful people. Okay. All right. So number 10 is realize your liberation, freedom, and truth. This is where we move into love. We move into knowing how to love ourselves. And we know that we are loved by all of creation, and we know how to be this force in life that is the most powerful force that there is. So what happens is we claim ourselves at the level that creation sees, holds, and honors you. This is beyond powerful, because what happens is you get expanded into your true self and true life. So what is true self? What is true life? I actually did a video on that recently. True self is we live unwounded. We're always going to be clearing wounds, but we cleared that many that we know what it is to be a true self. And then when we get triggered in a wound, we release it. We bring in more of our higher consciousness, our super conscious, and we move even more into true self. So what happens is our life opens up as a true life. We have access to things in the field we never had access to before. We start living as an unlimited, expanded self. We clear all our fears and our doubts and the ways we're not showing up as ourselves, so that we can be an authentic self, shining our light. And what is so beautiful is now on this planet, we are in an age of consciousness where we can be ourselves. No more are we going to be drowned or burnt or stoned or imprisoned or put in mental institutions for having our own radical, truthful expressions, and through bringing our missions forth to share for the expansion, healing, and consciousness of the planet. No more is that where we're living. We're free to be ourselves. The only things that think that we're not free to be ourselves is our inner traumas, our hangovers from not being allowed to be ourselves. So this is where we get so free in module 10 to be able to be our true self and our true life. And then we're not living with our traumas anymore. We are completely being us. And that's where the joy is. That's where the juice is. That's where it's a joy to be in our bodies and in life. I know many of us in narcissistic abuse have always struggled to be in our bodies, enjoying our life. We thought life was a struggle. We thought it was hard. We thought we had to diminish, and we had to be invisible, and we had to shrink, and we had to please others, and we had to walk on broken glass. That's what we thought our life was. I cannot tell you how I would not accept $50 million to go back to my life before narcissistic abuse. In fact, you couldn't even write me a check worth trillions, because before narcissistic abuse and doing these 10 steps, I was always unhappy in my body. I was scared to be in life as myself. I didn't know how to be. And I honestly believed that if I was, I'd be smashed, or people would abandon me. So by the time we get to module 10, we're ready for this quantum shift, this spiritual quantum shift into our true self. And it is beyond expansive. You know, you will come out of there feeling like you are the field and that you are unlimited, and you know how to connect to the field in a way that generates more of that. So it's hard to explain. I hope words can't even really do it justice. You actually have to do it. All right, I'm going to answer this question. Tamra Brown, how do you break through when you have bad disassociation, derealization, and depersonalization? This is such a good question. I can't keep anything in my head, no concept of time, and can't make a decision to save my life. This is all to do with trauma in your body. if you were to imagine a war scene in Beirut, you wouldn't want to be there, would you? You would get the heck out of that war scene. This is what happens when we have that much trauma in our body. We disassociate. We literally break off from ourselves. I remember in narcissistic abuse, when I started getting trauma out of my body, I had a sensation one day I could feel my butt on the car seat. I could feel my feet walking on the ground because of disassociation. I wasn't in my body. When you start working with NARP and the modules, and you know, so many people are disassociated and not in their body. And the thing is, why you can't think, the brain follows the body always. This is what Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton and neuroscientists know now, is that no matter whatever the composition of your inner being is, cellularly what's going on is exactly what your brain can only organize around. Of course, you can't think straight when the trauma is creating haywire on the inside. Once we get the trauma out, which is what the NARP process does, your brain will start coming back to well-being, reflecting those inner shifts. That's your complete and absolute and utter answer. There's really nothing else to say about that. Once you start doing the work, and if you're in the NARP forum and getting guidance and help, you'll see it, you'll experience it. See, this is where we have to change how we think about this, because we were taught years ago in personal development, I was taught think, affirmations, write, journal, think, change my brain. And I was wondering why the hell it didn't work. When I hit narcissistic abuse, there was no hope that that was going to work. It hadn't worked before, and it certainly didn't work then. What I discovered through quantum freedom healing and other body modalities is that we're not thinking when we're healing. We're connecting to our body, following specific instructions, which are about feeling, connecting, breathing in, being, visualizations, which are not logical. And by doing those, we're actually getting a somatic feeling in our body. We're getting a body shift. It's actually so much easier to do than thinking, I can assure you, and trying to nut your life out. Trying to nut your life out and work it out is ridiculous. You're going to be 50 years in therapy and probably get that far down the track. But when we actually literally go to the energetic trauma, the physical trauma, cellularly, and load it up in ways that are very simple to do, it's ridiculously simple, and follow the instructions, you will see the shift. You will experience it and start living it. And then you'll start thinking, why on earth was I trying to think my way out of my significant trauma? It didn't work. Now I know why it didn't work. So that's my answer to you. Please check out NARP and come in to the forum, and we'll really help you with that stuff. You know, we can be very gentle with you to help. Okay. All right. So are you back in here? We're getting back in here, everybody. That was a bit inconvenient, wasn't it? You're back. Yay. Yes. Wow. Okay. You're here. All right. All right. We have a lady here who's saying, I want to know more about quantum freedom healing. The best way that you can do it is to come into my workshop and you'll actually experience it. No, the best way to find out anything is through experience, because it's unmistakable. All right. So Ashley, you did get NARP, but you didn't start doing the healings. Oh my goodness. Well, now after today you will. So the support team will help you with that, which is really, really good. Okay. So we have Beenaz, Bigwai, I think is your name. What if we still have some fear left despite doing the work? Could we still have the external circumstances being aligned with our goals, intentions when it comes to these major events? What if we still have some fear left? You know, Beenaz, as soon as I read that, I don't need to read any further. What if we still have some fear left? Go inside into your body, load up the fear and release it, because then you open up into solution consciousness. That's the answer. There actually is no other answer. And our mind, as soon as we get fear, tries to nut it out. Why am I fearful? What am I fearful about? What can I do out there to change my fear in here? That's not quantum. Quantum is, I'll change my fear in here, I'll spiral it out, bring in source. I love in NARP, we have the goal setting module, which I haven't talked about today. The goal setting module is multi-purpose. We can set up the goal. I love it. I use it a lot. The source, healing, and resolution of this. Now, what they're always saying is light, but it's the source, healing, resolution of this. This could be anything. So this is the fear of whatever your fear is. So you would set up the goal of the source, healing, and resolution of this. You would intuitively go in and say, well, I'm only a 1 out of 10. I don't feel that at all. We keep finding the blocks, the fear. We keep spiraling them out. We keep bringing in the source, healing, and the resolution of that goal setting module. And then the fear is gone. And then I promise you, I swear to you, you will have the solution. You'll have the inspiration, the opportunity will come, the door will open, you'll walk through it. That's what happens every time. So all you have to, that will never happen when you're trying to nut out what that fear is and how do I and what do I do and how do I change him or her or this or that or the other, right? That doesn't work. So within, so without. You change you, you change everything. That's all you have to do. Can you believe that? My front door is ringing and I'm in a Facebook Live. This never happens. I'm in my new apartment. Oh, I just love live cam. Isn't it the best? It is totally the best. All right, I'm not going to answer, clearly. So hopefully they will stop ringing. It's so funny. All right, so now it is time to draw the winners of the 2 Quantum Freedom Healing free courses of your choice. This is a big drum roll. I should have had a little drum. Da-da-da-da. Can we have the music? Harry could be doing this here. All right. So drawing the winners now. Okay. And I've got, oh gosh, and I nearly lost the, okay, here we are. The free course giveaways go to, drum roll. We have Donna Watts Mars. Congratulations, Donna. And Stephanie Kurz, Kurz. Congratulations, ladies. I'm so, so happy for you. And you're going to be going quantum with me, listening to my voice, doing the work, and going forth into amazing, amazing trajectories. I'm so, so happy for you, ladies. And I'm just going to scroll down and see if we've got you there. I've missed a lot of this feed while I've been rabbiting on. Congratulations, ladies. That's so exciting. I'm really, really happy for you. I'm so, so happy. Okay, so we are done. I wish we could stay on for longer. I really do, but we're done. We're finished. And I am so grateful for you coming. Thank you, everybody, for conjoining in this incredible experience that we get to share together, which is quantum, which is about expansion. And we are saying no to mere survival. No, this is not about mere survival. This is about thriving into our true selves and our true lives that are our birthright. I so believe all of us that have been narcissistically abused or have toxic people, we are here for big missions. We are here to anchor the light. We are here to be way showers for a new way of living and a better life and a better earth and better people. You know, there's no mistaking that this happened to us. And I promise you that the breakthrough on the other side of this is so far superior to the level of the breakdown. This is what we need to effort for and go for if we take a stand for who we're meant to be. And I love that. I take that stand and I want all of you to take that stand with me. And also too, let's not forget my new book, my new book, which I'm so excited about, and having a global publisher and being able to spread the word. And, you know, we can all get on this mission and really help people know there is another way to heal for real from narcissistic abuse. That's what all of this is all about. So to find out more about my book, you can go to youcanthrivebook.com. And if you got inspired today, and if you want to take your healing to the next level, way beyond just information, I know that you can listen to my videos and my blogs and do all of that stuff, but there is no substitute for doing the inner work in our inner being. We just try to think our way out of trauma. We have to keep watching videos. We have to keep reading blogs. We have to go back and back and back. I want to help you to the point where you never have to read my stuff again or listen to any of it, because you're just having the most incredible, amazing, narcissistic, abuse-free life. We're narcissist who, narcissist what, and we get to that level by becoming a different self that is no longer ever a match for that and is a match for an awesome, incredible life. That's what the inner transformational work is. That's what these 10 steps is about, and that's what the NARP program is. So to find out all about that and thrive on and join me in a community of amazing thrivers, you can go to MelanieToniaEvans.com NARP, which is really simple. It's my name.com/NARP, N for Nelly, ARP. And you can check out everything about NARP there and get on it. You could start module 1 and getting relief and power today. That's how fast it can happen for you. So everybody, oh gosh, thank you for all your congratulations on the book. Honestly, it was like giving birth to triplets. I have realized people who write books should be on a desert island for 3 months, no, a tropical island for 3 months, and have nothing else to do. Certainly not all the stuff I do. Writing a book is huge, but it's been so worth it. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. I love you, love you, love you so much. And also, too, please say yes if you want more live videos, because I love doing them. So anyway, love you all so much. Mwah! So much love. Blessings and love to all of you. That's it from me, everybody. Till the next one. Bye-bye.